Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you how to expand your diet when you're limited by food sensitivities. I used to be able to eat 4 different foods at one point in time, and I will give you some pointers as to how to get out of this situation here. So first, let me see, I'm not a medical doctor. This is not used to be used as medical advice. This is for my information, educational purposes only, and this is based on my experience. Okay, so a lot of people contact me and they say, hey, Matt, I can only eat 5, 6 different foods without reacting. And this is pretty much what happens all across the board with everybody. And I say to them, first question I ask them is, how much meat are you eating? Every time. And what do they say? They say, well, yeah, 2, 3 times a day. Meat's the only thing that's working for me, Matt. It's the only thing that's working. And then I tell them the reality of the situation is that I've seen countless people over and over again, including myself, who through the removal of meat and the diversification of plant-based foods, they go from eating 6 different foods to all of a sudden eating 25 different foods over the course of 4 or 5 months. And now all of a sudden they're tolerating the meat and the animal products a lot better afterwards. And you ask, why? How is this possible? This makes no sense. They're tolerating 4 or 5 different foods. Well, the way it works is this, okay? When your body is compromised, you have a compromised digestive system in this situation, you're going to end up breaking down the foods that are hardest to break down, last, and the foods that are, the foods that are easiest to break down, obviously, are going to be first, right? So why would you put meat in your body when you're having reactions to everything under the sun? You're not breaking anything down, because meat is the hardest of all things to break down, right? So it's really not that hard. You just kind of look at what someone's eating and say, okay, what are the foods that are hardest to break down? It's pretty simple. It's dairy, gluten, eggs, nuts, seeds, meat. These are the things that are hardest to break down for people. If they're eating too much of any of these, you simply gradually reduce these things while gradually introducing the plants more and more, increasing the plants more and more. And what happens is people gradually become more and more tolerant to the plants as we're removing the animal products, reducing the animal products. Next thing you know, depending upon how quickly they remove the animal products, they could be eating 20 different foods over the course of 60 days when they were eating 4 or 5 beforehand, and that all depends on how quickly they remove the animal products and how much meat they were eating beforehand. I've seen people that were eating meat at every meal, meat and, greens even, at every single meal. And it's like, well, what else have you been eating? Well, I've been eating this for, the last 2, 3 years. Well, can't eat that forever, right? So we get them backing off the chicken. Next thing we're now adding more vegetables, we're adding more fruits. All of a sudden, when the chicken's gone, now they're tolerating the carbohydrates better because the chicken is removed. Once the chicken is removed, you've starved out those SIBO bacteria, those harmful bacteria, because they feed off of those sulfur-based amino acids in the animal fats. And this is the reality. Most people think that these organisms in their stomach are fed off of carbs. Sugars. That's just such a simplistic, elementary way of looking at all this. The reality is, okay, these organisms are fed by proteins and fats as well, and some of the most harmful ones prefer the sulfur-based amino acids in the fats, the animal fats, right? So this is the point I'm getting to, is that when it comes down to it, meat, animal products, too much fat, the main food groups I mentioned before, your nuts, seeds, gluten, eggs, dairy, those ones are all the main irritants when you have. So you look at what people are eating in that category, you help them gradually reduce those things. You increase the vegetables, the fruits, the potatoes, your rice, and then your beans, your lentils. You start to emphasize these foods, keep on emphasizing them, and then remove all the irritants for, let's say, 2, 3 months if you can. No meat, none of that for 2, 3 months. Or even, as reduced as possible on the meat, but everything else I would let go. Including the eggs even, but reduce as possible on the meat for a few months. Get your body really 80, 90% plant-based, right? Let your body start to build that good bacteria that are going in the right direction. They're helping your immune system. And then at that point, you can start to add more animal products back in and see how your body does with it. But the reality is, you want to be able to diversify your foods. You can't be eating 5, 6 different foods for the rest of your life. You got to at least get up to 20, 25 foods, be able to diversify your nutrition. And often what happens is you can't get there unless you eliminate the common irritants, as I mentioned before. And unless you eliminate those foods, then you're going to be stuck in this cycle, and you're going to have less and less foods you tolerate. You're going to think it's the vegetables. You're going to think it's the fruits. You're going to think it's everything besides the foods you like, right? And this is the reality of it. The foods that you like the most are the ones you're going to point at last. as the problem. And the reality is, the ones you crave and like the most are usually the ones that are most likely to be triggering you. And this is the cycle that people are caught in. They consume the foods they prefer, and they blame the ones they don't, and they get stuck eating less and less fiber and more protein animal products, and it just keeps them in a vicious cycle where their immune system becomes more and more reactive, their gut's more dysfunctional than ever, their mast cells are just just going crazy, and then you got this chronic illness, these symptoms that develop. So just want to explain how you can get out of that situation. It really is simply about diversifying and also eliminating supplements and eliminating the things that could be irritating the immune system as well simultaneously. You got to let the immune system calm down, remove the irritants, and at that point, guess what? Now you can tolerate more foods. Now you can tolerate more things. Now, I also want to mention, if you're eating 5 different foods, you've been reacting to everything else, you got to look into mycotoxins, okay? And look at my videos on mycotoxins, because typically if you're having reactions to everything but 5 foods, there's definitely a mycotoxin issue that is going on, and you can test your antibody levels to determine this. So thanks for watching, everybody. Watch my other videos about mycotoxins if you are having these food reactions, and go to my website, endsickness.org, for more information. Take care.